I've put together a separate set of slides for you that talks just about symbols. So let's look at these symbols. Whether you're doing a detail indicator or a section arrow, you're still going to have a circle, and that circle is going to be 5/8 of an inch in diameter when printed, and the text inside will be 1/8 of an inch high when printed. So if you're in model space, you might need to scale it up, and if you're in paper space, then you just draw it 5/8 of an inch in diameter. We'll look at that later. Sorry. So as we saw before, here's an example out of our textbook. And what he's showing us here is sheet number A4.2. This is a sheet of wall sections. And on this one particular wall section, notice this is wall section number 3. It's on page A4.2. We are on page A4.2. So this section is on this page, to state the obvious. Now, within this wall section, there's a detail, a close-up detail of just how that sill is attached. And that is detail 5, and we're going to find that on sheet A7.1. Now our book shows us, here's the corner of sheet A7.1, and sure enough, there is detail number 5 on sheet A7.1. Yes, we are on sheet A7.1, and here is that close-up of that sill and that glazing and how everything goes together. And this detail was referenced back on this other sheet, A4.2. This was a sheet that had wall sections. There's where that particular detail is called out. It says go to sheet A7.1. So we do. Here is sheet A7.1, and there's our detail. This is another example of how, as an estimator or a contractor, you will be doing a lot of flipping back and forth from page to page, finding where is this, where is that, where do I get my information? All right, here is the National CAD standard talking about these section indicators. And if you are cutting a full section all the way through a floor plan or another elevation or another section, if it's a full section, they are saying put an arrow on each end of the line and point the arrow in the direction that the reader's eye will be looking. And again, those circles are 5/8 of an inch in diameter with 1/8 inch high text when printed. And here is an example of a plan view with a full section arrow going through. In some cases, you have to cut these arrows because there's stuff in the middle, but if you have the arrow on both ends, it's okay. Here is the National CAD standard saying you might have a partial section, and if you do, you have an arrow on just one end of the line, and then this flag, this tail, at the other end. And here are 3 examples of vertical cutting line, an angled cutting line, and a horizontal cutting line. But notice how in each of them, the way the text is written in the bubble stays the same. Here's another example that is not the CAD standard, so don't look at that as closely. And then here are a few slides that I put in here just for your reference in case you need to refer to these at work sometime. The kinds of symbols you might run into. Symbols that identify stuff, symbols for lines, materials, and so on and so forth. All of this stuff you can find in the AIA Graphic Standards reference book. Then you'll have various kinds of geometric shapes that identify doors and windows. And this is the National CAD standard saying something. but different firms use different geometric shapes. I'll just tell you. Finally, this is not official, but I just wanted to show you an example of a style sheet that a local architecture firm uses. This was given to me by an architect who now works for Roll Brokaw. She was at a different firm back then, and I can't remember if it was Robertson Sherwood. I think it was. Anyway, it's an example of something you might have in your office where you or your colleagues say, let's just standardize how we do section arrows, north arrows, detail callouts, other things, and we'll put it on a style sheet so everybody does it the same. Now, you'll notice that at this architect's office, they did go with a 5/8 diameter circle for the north arrow, but they went with a slightly smaller circle for the section arrow and the detail arrow. That's okay. They even have standards for how they do their break lines and other stuff. So whatever firm you go to work for, they will have standards, and most of the time the standards will be set and you'll want to adjust to whatever their standards are. All right, that's it on the symbols.